Hi everyone, welcome to our 6.1 webinar. Here we are going to go through the new features that 6.1 has to offer. We will start with our key features. The first key feature we will go through is the Closet Connect link. In 6.1, you now have the ability to store products from Closet Connect right inside the Clo software. The location of this link is in your library window. If you move towards the location of the existing library window, you can see that a new tab has been created at the top. The star will be for your library, while the tab next to it, which looks like a bag, will allow you to view the store products of Closet. At the top part here, there is a list of product categories that the Closet Connect store is composed of. If you click on one of the categories, you will be able to see the products below. They are in order of newest to oldest. By hovering over a product, you will be able to see an enlarged image of it. If you click on the product, you will be taken to the product detail page, as you can see here. One big difference between the product list here in Clo versus the product list in the Closet Connect store is that here you have a new and my items category. With the new category, here you can check all products in all different categories in the order of newest to oldest. For the my items category, you can see all the products that you have purchased from your linked Closet account. At the top right of this window, you will have an account button, which will allow you to view your account. Next to that, there is a home button. This will take you directly to the home page of the Closet Connect store. Let's go through the Closet account button a bit. Here you can check your account. The profile shown here is the Closet account that is created when you sign into your Closet with your Clo software account. Now, for customers who have never signed up for Closet with a Clo software account, you can sign up by going to the Closet website and signing in using your software account. However, it is not necessary to create an account to log into Closet through the Clo software. If you already have a Closet account in use, you can always add that account through the Add Account button, which is right here. Once you select that button, you will then be taken to the Closet login page. Here you will be able to sign into your Closet account, which will then link directly back to your Clo software. Now you can delete the account and add other ones if you would like, but you can have up to 2 accounts within Clo. If we move back over to that My Items category and refresh it quickly, you will see that there are now 2 folders. That means that there are 2 accounts within the My Items. Once you download and purchase products from the Closet Connect store, you can then add and use them exactly as you would products in your library. Now let's go over a little bit about this Closet Connect. When selecting the Closet Connect home button, you will then be taken to the newly launched Closet Connect Global Fashion Community Platform. Anyone interested in 3D fashion design can join and participate in this service. It provides an open market for fashion creators worldwide to download or purchase a variety of 3D items. Let's move on to some avatar updates. In Clo 6.1, we have added some new avatars and assets. We have added a new woman's avatar and a new men's avatar. If I go into female version 2, you will see that there is a new avatar here. The avatar is actually from MD, but now in Clo, you can put her in different sizes. Here I'm going to add her to my workspace. We have also updated our textures for all of our avatars. It is important to use the same version texture as avatar. So if you are using a version 2 avatar, make sure you are using a version 2 texture. As you can see, we now have a nude underwear texture, a black underwear texture, and a completely nude texture. The completely nude texture will be great for lingerie or bathing suits like this one. We also have a new men's avatar here, named Darnell. Darnell also has updated textures along with all of the version 2 men avatars. We have also added the Avatar Style Configurator in 6.1. To use the Avatar Configurator, first let's bring an avatar into the space. One important thing to note, the Avatar Configurator only works with version 2 avatars, so make sure you select one of the avatars in this folder. Click on the avatar in the Property Editor. Under Avatar Styling, you will see the name of the avatar you are currently working with. You can click on the arrow to switch between different avatar skins directly here. On the far right, you will see the Style Configurator button. Once selected, you will see the Style Configurator menu. In the Style Configurator, you are able to change the hair, skin, eyebrows, and lip colors. If you click on any of these chips, you can switch around the colors here. Also, the white squares here will allow you to create custom colors. While all the way to the right, that drop-down menu will allow you to adjust the blending modes. This is for both the hair and skin. Now, for the eyebrows and lips, you are actually able to switch between different avatars for different styling and shapes. You can also change those colors as well and the blending modes if you would like. Once you are done, you can hit OK to finalize your design. If you would like to go back to the default settings, simply hit the reset button. Another key feature we are going to go through is our Select Mesh Brush tool. The Select Mesh Brush tool originally came from Marvelous Designer, but will be very useful for all Clo users. The tool is located in your 3D toolbar, where the Select Mesh Box and Pin Box tool are. With this tool, you can select certain areas of your garment and either subdivide, freeze, solidify, or add pins. You can also select mesh. Once activated, a pop-up window will appear. In this window, you can control the strength, size, and focal point of your brush. The strength will decide the strength of the tool. The higher the strength, the stronger the result will be. For size, you can decide how big you want your brush to be. The larger the number, the bigger the selection area. With the focal option, you can decide on the focus radius of your brush. Now, this option is currently only available with the freeze option. You can use this tool in the 3D and the 2D window, but I will just be demonstrating it in the 3D window. Now, let's first go over subdivide. I'm going to select part of my garment with my brush tool, and then right-click and select Subdivide. With this tool, you can subdivide certain mesh areas to make the mesh much more delicate. In the Property Editor, you can decide on the subdivision level. The higher the number, the more delicate the mesh becomes. I am going to go up to 2, but you can go as high as 5. If you activate Smooth, the area around the selected mesh becomes smooth. I'm going to jump to my mesh view so you can see this a little easier. As you can see, the sections I selected have a lot finer mesh. To delete the subdivide area, you just right-click and select the option Reset. If you would like to hide the color, you can right-click in the 3D background, select Hide/Show Color, and select Hide Subdivide Mesh. As you can see, the ruffle is now much more delicate. Now let's move into the freeze option. I will select an area of my jacket again, right-click to get to freeze. This will allow me to partially freeze part of my garment. If you change the focal area, it will gradually freeze. This will allow part of the frozen area to move, which you will be able to see while I'm simulated. With a right click, you can unfreeze certain areas. You may also hide the color of your frozen area as well, as we did with the subdivide. Next, let's talk about solidify. Now you can also solidify using this tool. Again, you will select a certain area of your garment with this tool, right click and select solidify. You can also unsolidify with a right click on top of that area and select unsolidify. And you can also hide the solidify color if you would like. Now finally, we also have pins. Going through those same steps, right clicking and saying create pin. The only difference here is you will be able to hide and show those pins in the vertical toggle menu. Now let's move on to 3D linked editing. In Close 6.1, you now have the ability to adjust your pattern within your 3D window using these style line tools. With the Scale Style Line tool, I am going to lengthen my hem. Once selected, you will see two different perforated lines. One perforated line will have an arrow at the end. This will lengthen or shorten your hem. The other perforated line will have a solid line at the end. This will adjust the circumference of your hem by either increasing it or decreasing it. I am going to use the arrow line to lengthen my hem. I will then simulate to let my garment drape. I can then continue to lengthen my hem until I get the desired length. I can also add fullness to my hem by using that other perforated line. Now, you can also add fullness to your hem through the side seam. So here I'm going to select my side seam and add fullness there. Now I can also lengthen or shorten my side seam. Please note that when you change the length of the side seam, both the top and bottom will be adjusted, as you can see. You can also adjust certain sections of your line. This can be done by hovering to the edge of your line. Once you see an arrow, you will then be able to adjust part of the line. If I open up my 2D window, you will see this a little better in my patterns. Here you will see that only the underarm was adjusted, while my sweep is still full. Clicking on the side seam only once will allow you to select certain pattern pieces. Here I can select either my front or back pattern piece. Now I am able to adjust only my back. Here I am adding length to just my back, or I can also add some fullness to my back as well. I can also just adjust the sweep part of my back if I'd like. You can see all of this a little bit better if you look at my 2D window. I'm going to jump now back to just my 3D window and use this other style line tool, which is called the Edit Style Line tool. If you are adjusting already created points, this tool will keep the line property as is. But if you are creating a new point, like here, it will actually become a curvature line. It is also important to note that these pattern pieces that I am adjusting are symmetrical. So what happens to one side will automatically apply to the other. But if they were not symmetrical, I would have to adjust both sides. Now the final tool we have for our style line group is the Draw Style Line tool. This tool will allow you to create new style lines in your garment. It will automatically cut and sew these style lines that you have created, as you can see here. Now I can use all three of these tools together to continue to adjust my pattern to create my desired look. If I do anything that I don't like, I can always hit undo since you have unlimited undos in Clo. And as you can see, within a few minutes, you have a completely new garment, and you've only used your 3D window. You can now save your fabric files as GLTF files within Clo. We decided to use the GLTF format to export both visual and physical parameters instead of the two other standard formats because GLTF contains a PBR material mechanism. One small note, a substance file cannot be included in the export of a GLTF fabric file. So how do we do this? First, let's go through how to export. We'll go to File, Export, Fabric, GLTF/GLB. You'll have to save the fabric first. Then, once you've named and saved the fabric, a pop-up menu will appear. Here you can select which fabric or fabrics to export. You can either check or uncheck either one of these boxes. As you can see, the substance file is not included in this list. Next, you can just select if you would like this to be a GLTF embedded file type or a GLB file type. We're going to stick with the GLTF embedded file type. Once you're set, you can then just hit OK, and you just exported one of your fabrics. You can also export by going over to your object browser and selecting the fabric you would like to export, right-clicking and saying Export. Now that we've exported these fabrics, how do we bring them in? First, I'm going to select all of these dresses and change them to a default fabric, just so you can clearly see that the properties of the fabrics do apply when exporting as a GLTF. So, now let's go over how to import a GLTF fabric file. You can again go to File, Import, GLTF. Now, you're going to select the file that you want to import, and then a pop-up window will come up. In this pop-up window, you are going to select the object type to be fabric. From there, you can just hit OK, and then you'll have inputted your GLTF fabric files into your object browser. There's another way. You could go to that fabric default, select it, in your object browser, right-click and say Import. Here you can import your GLTF/GLB file to replace this fabric default file. Here I'm going to select one of these dresses and apply the other fabric that I've imported in. And as you can see when I simulate, the properties of those fabrics are being applied to the drape of the dress. Our final key feature is the UV Editor Unified Map. In CLO 6.1, you can now load unified maps into your 3D garment. Originally, when applying a texture image to a fabric, CLO will repeat the image on that material. There is an option to have more control where the texture images are being placed by using the unified maps. This is done by changing the fabric load type from texture repeat to unified map within the object browser. Once you have changed the fabric load type in the object browser, you can apply a UV map to the garments. The texture image will be applied directly to the current UV layout within the UV editor mode. This is a great addition for developing engineered prints in CLO, like the one I have here. Now let's move into our modes. The first mode we are going to go over is the UV editor. In 6.1, you now have the option to include top stitching in your UV maps. There are two options for this. You can save the top stitch as an OBJ or as a texture. When the top stitch type is assigned as an OBJ, it will generate UV patterns for the top stitching with the UV editor. When the top stitching type is changed from an OBJ to a texture, it will be converted as an image repeat along the pattern pieces within the UV layout. Both top stitching options can now be exported with the UV maps. Apart from exporting the UV map of OBJ top stitch to UV editor mode, we can bake the texture image and save it as a new format. Users can set Fit All UV to 0-1 and customize the pattern placement. Select Bake Texture on the toolbar, then customize the size, UV area, and check the texture type. Open the saving path, then name the map. You can save the map not only as a PNG and JPEG, but also now as a PDF in 6.1. Users can save the map in various formats depending on your needs. We have also updated our BOM mode. Here in our BOM mode, you now see your top stitch information. You can preview the top stitch style and quantity depending on your garment, and change the price and unit to check the cost. You can also check the total cost and save the BOM file as a record for internal or external communication. Now, let's move on to our print layout mode. This section will cover new print layout mode features. In the vertical toggle menu, there is now an option to toggle on rulers with guidelines. While a guide is being placed, it will snap to a pattern's edge or seam allowance automatically. Once a guide is set, the pattern's edge or seam allowance will snap to it. Patterns will also automatically snap to the edge of the fabric roll. There are a couple different options for snapping to your pattern in the right-click menu. For Snap to Pattern, this will cause the center of the pattern to align to each other when moved. For Snap to Texture Grid, this snaps patterns to either the outline or center of the texture or print. When these options are selected, the print, repeat, edge, and center guides are toggled on. We have also improved our snapshot. In the Save Image dialog box under Show Images, you are now able to hide the pattern texture or fabric roll texture and change the texture opacity at the bottom of the window. Also, you can save your snapshots as a PDF if you would like. We have also added a Bond tab. If bonding has been applied to any pieces, a Bond tab will automatically appear with all relevant patterns. There will be one Bond tab combining all bonded pieces, regardless of the type selected in the property editor. Now let's move on to our colorway mode. As you can see, we have added a new section, our Color Chip tab. Here you will be able to see all of your colors in each colorway. Using these color chips, you will be able to adjust all properties within your colorway that uses this specific color. If I select this color here and then scroll down, you will see that I have a button using this color along with some top stitches. If I change this color using the color chips, all of these properties will change to the new color. Also, if I go to another color chip and change it to the same color, it will then combine those two color chips into one. I can then change this color, and now all the top stitches and buttons will change color. It is important to note that the name of the color chips comes from the name of the color, which you can edit in the property editor. I can change the name here and you will see that all the names will be updated. Your color chips will also combine even if you change the colors below, like here with the fabrics. If I select both of these fabrics and then change their color to the same one, you will then see in the color tab that another color chip has been combined into one. If I undo, you will see that originally one fabric was white and one was none. As you can see, all of these changes I have made have only affected this colorway. If I wanted the two other colorways to be the same, I would have to do these steps again. The colored chips can also affect prints. Right now, my prints are all named white. I can change these names to print so that I can see it better in my color chip tab. However, when I adjust the color using the chip, it will be a color overlay, as you can see here. You can also change it so that there isn't any color on your print as well, but you cannot change specific colors. Another thing to note, if you have the same color, but you name them differently, the chips will not combine. Also, in our colorway mode, you can now hide and show your graphics in your colorways by using these little eyes. So now you can easily toggle between all of your graphic options. Also, you can show the same graphic but still add different colors for each colorway. Now let's move on to emulator mode. In CLO 6.1, you can now add more than just texture maps when creating a ZFAB file within CLO. You will still need to enter the measured value the same way as you did before. Once you have inputted the CLO physical property, you will then find Add Map options. When you get to the texture stage, here you can add the normal, displacement, and alpha map. If you select Next, you can then add maps for reflection. Once you have completed the ZFAB, you can then add in this fabric to your project file and use it within your garment. Now let's move on to our interface. You can now adjust and change your line color thickness, and length within Clo. You can find this menu in User Settings, and then going into User Interface, you can then find the Line section in the User Interface. You now can change your pattern outline, internal line, baseline, select line, hover, colors, along with all of the line thickness and line length. We have also updated our single sign-on ADFS platform. You can sign in to Clo Network Online Authority through single sign-on. We're already providing the single sign-on feature with Okta since Clo 6.0. And now in 6.1, you can use the single sign-on feature in ADFS. If you or your company are using Okta or ADFS, and if you want to use single sign-on in Clo, then please contact the Clo team. We will help you set the single sign-on up. In Clo 6.1, you now have the ability to adjust your pen pressure. This is going to be most helpful when using the Select Mesh Brush tool. As you know, the color of the 3D patterns would be changed when you freeze or strengthen the patterns. But now in Clo 6.1, you can set the color of the pattern to be the original fabric color. You can find this in your right-click pop-up menu when you click in your 3D window. You can see here that you have the option of Show/Hide color menu. Here you will be able to hide or show any colors. Now let's move on to our avatar. In Clo 6.1, you will now be able to create symmetrical avatar tape. To do this, you will first have to create your tape. Over here in the 3D toolbar, I will go to my avatar tape tools. Using the basic circumference measure tool, I will add tape to my avatar's left wrist. Using my linear measure tool, I will add tape to my avatar's upper chest. Once I have added the tape, I will then go to my edit measure tool and then right click. Here in the drop down menu, you can select duplicate to symmetric position. To remove the tapes, you must select and delete each one separately. Now let's move on to the improvements made in our materials section. Let's first go over the updates with trims. In the past versions of Clo, you had to create pattern pieces before you could bring in a trim. However, from this version, we can open the trim files even without a pattern. I can also save this as a trim file as well. Before saving as a trim file, enter the size to be used as a trim in the property editor. You can then go to File, Save As, Trim, save it as a trim file format. Using this type of file, you can then see this in the Scene tab in your object browser. I'll open another file for clarification. As you can see, trim files are usually small in size and exist only in the 3D window. This made it very easy to lose trims. To solve this, we have made it possible to find your trims in the Scene tab with the Object Browser. Moving to the Object Browser and then selecting the Scene tab, you will then see Close Controller at the bottom of the list. It is there that you will find your trim files. If you click on the trim that you want to select here, you can then see that the trim will also be selected in the 3D window. We have also added the ability to turn collision on and off for trims in the property editor. This will be very useful for trims that are sandwiched between fabrics, like this. In the past, fabrics would come out because of collision. However, in 6.1, you can now have collision turned off, and this will not happen. This process is only possible when the trim file is not glued. The final update we have made to our trims is the ability to select and move multiple trims and OBJs. In the past, it was possible to select multiple trim files, but it was impossible to move multiple selected trims at once. However, in 6.1, it is possible. Now we are going to go over the ability to register multiple button sizes. This update will now allow you to create multiple sizes of a button properly. If you look at the image I'm showing you now, the top line represents buttons of various sizes using the method of previous versions. This method would modify the overall scale of the entire button, which was incorrect. To fix this, we can now input and manage separate files in a more user-friendly way, and the buttons on the bottom represent this new technique. Let's go over how to do this. First, click the Button tab at the top of the Object Browser. You can register a button here in the Property Editor. Alternatively, you can go to the Materials button, Register button, and register a button there. Now, a pop-up window will appear. First, enter the name of the button. Next, you can register the thumbnail of the button you would like to register. You can either use a flat view like this, or a side view. It all depends on the type of button you are adding. The next step is to add the button information and files to each size. Click Add Size and add as many sizes as you would like for your button. Once you have the desired amount, you will then enter the information in the order of button size. If you would like to change the size name, you can here. The next step will be to import your OBJ buttons. Only OBJ files can be registered. You'll then enter the width, thickness, and weight of the button for each size. Finally, you can set the default button, which will be the main size of this button. Once you are all set, then click OK and your button is registered. How can we use this button we just created? Well, when you register a button in Clo, it is added to the button function immediately. You can select and use this button style within your property editor right away. If you want to find this file, you can copy and paste the path into your library window. And if you want to save the material information, because you've adjusted it or added different properties, you can then just click the Save button at the top of the property editor to save it again. When using a button with multiple sizes, you will see that there is a drop-down menu in the property editor. Here you can select the size you wish to see. If you want to create another size, you can select Custom at the bottom and this will allow you to create another size. When creating buttons or buttonholes, there is now an option to automatically distribute between 2 points instead of setting it manually. With the button or buttonhole tool, right-click on the pattern edge and select Distribute under Type in the dialog box. Set placement of buttons from the pattern edge and the start and end point. When the number of buttons are changed, the distance between will be automatically calculated. With the Select Move button tool, all buttons in this group will be selected together. You can also enter a bind position. Once buttonholes are placed in the garment, select them with the Select/Move button tool to set the bind position by measurement. We have also made some improvements to our textures. Now you can open up and edit textures using different softwares directly from Clo. Here I'm going to show you this using our fabric. I'm going to go to my fabric, my object browser, and down in my property editor, I will click Open With. Here I can select which app I would like to open this with. I can open this with Photoshop, I can add a new app, or I can open with another app. I'm going to open this with Photoshop. Once it's open with Photoshop, I can start to adjust and edit this print around as I would like. Once I'm done, I will then hit Save. I will then have to go back into Clo and right-click in my 3D window and say Refresh Textures. Now I will see the update to my textures. This will also work with graphics. If I go to my Edit Graphic tool to select my graphic, I can then go to my property editor and select the Open With icon. Here I'm going to add an app. I would like to add my Adobe Illustrator because I would like to edit this in Illustrator. Once I'm done, I will then just have to save it, go to Clo, and right-click and say Refresh. We have also made some adjustments to our multi-texture editor. Now you can adjust the tiling of your prints within the texture editor. Once I check on tiling, you will see that my print will tile out. But now I have the option of adjusting the space and shift of this tile. The first box of space will adjust the spacing of your artwork from the side. So, positive will have the artwork move away, while negative will move the artwork closer. The second box of space will adjust the spacing of the artwork from above and below. Positive will move the artwork away. Negative will move the artwork in. The first box of shift will shift your artwork from side to side. Positive will move the bottom left and the top right, while negative will move the bottom right and the top left. The second box for shift will shift your artwork up and down. Positive will move your artwork up, while negative will move your artwork down. The reset buttons on the side will reset your numbers to 0. This tiling will not automatically create a seamless repeat. You must play around with your scale to create a seamless repeat. You can now save out your layers as separate PNG images. The button below here, Save Images, will allow you to do this. Once selected, you will then be able to choose your layers you would like to save out. If you do not want to save an image, simply uncheck the box. You can then hit OK. You will then be taken to your file window where you can choose where to save your images. There you will have your PNG images that you can use in your software. The next updates we are going to cover are the 2D updates. Let's first go over the new patterning updates. We have added a new pattern tool. If you go over to your 2D toolbar and select the polygon tool and click and hold, you will then see that there is a spiral pattern tool added. If you click once in your 2D window, you will then get a precision box. In this precision box, you can start to type in your measurements for your spiral. You have a few options. You can set the radius, which will be the radius at which the spiral pattern rotates. You can set the length, which will be the length of the inner and outer segment of the spiral pattern. You can also set the side, which will be the inside and outside width of the spiral pattern. You can also adjust the spacing between rotating the spiral pattern through offset. The length you enter is the distance from the center of the spiral pattern to the center of the next pattern. And finally, you can set the rotation direction. So you can make this counterclockwise or clockwise. After setting up these options, you can then add it to your workspace in a few different ways. You can use it as a spiral pattern, or you could use it to make beautiful ruffles. We have also added the perpendicular pattern corner as well. Here, you can find this by going to your Edit Pattern tool and then selecting the point you would like to be perpendicular, right-clicking and select Perpendicular Pattern Corner. Here you can adjust the length and direction of which you would like the perpendicular corner to be. And once you are all set, you can then hit OK. As you can see, the right angle will appear on your adjusted pattern. We have also made some Dart improvements in 6.1. Within 6.1, you now have the option to turn a shape dart cap on or off. When using the Edit Pattern tool, right-click on the segment point and select the Add Dart option. Here you will see that you can check or uncheck the Shape Dart Cap option. If it is checked, the dart cap can be modified after the dart is created using the curve points. When it isn't checked, the dart cap will be automatically created to the most accurate. We have also made some improvements to our notches. Now you are able to add notch using your Edit Curve Point tool. And now we can lock our notch position. This feature will make it so the notch will stay in the fixed measurement in which you have made, even if you edit the pattern. Using your notch tool, you can add a notch and then go to your property editor. Here you can check the lock position, and here you will select whether you'd like the point to be the start or end. You can then type in the measurement in which you would like the notch to be from that point. Even after locking the notch, you can continue to edit the line, and that notch will still stay in that fixed position. We have also updated our grading and POM tool. When a pattern has been graded in CLO, you can now adjust the stacking of those graded pieces. This can be done using the Edit Grading tool. By selecting the entire pattern, right-click, and use the Align function. With this function, you can align from the left, right, bottom, top, center, middle, and a combination of center and middle. You can also select the point and right-click to get the Align option and align it along the X, Y, and X and Y axis. We have also updated our POM tool. Now it will display the grading length in the POM tab. If there is grading information in the pattern, when you add the POM, you will then see the measurements graded out. This will work with straight or diagonal POMs. We have also made some improvements with offsetting internal lines. In 6.1, you are now able to offset in both directions from an internal line. Start by creating an internal line with the internal poly/line tool. Then, with the Edit Pattern tool, right-click on the line and select Offset as internal line. In the dialog box, you are able to choose both sides under Option, and the lines will be distributed in both directions. You may also extend the internal line to another internal line when creating this. We have also improved our Walk Pattern tool. You are now able to walk one pattern over multiple patterns. You can click to match up the starting points and hover over seam lines to continue walking a pattern across multiple pattern pieces. You can also flip patterns while walking them. You can right-click at any point while walking a pattern to flip the pattern horizontally. We have also updated our auto sewing feature. In CLO 6.0, we saw the introduction of auto sew. This feature has been expanded in 6.1 to include more categories, such as pants. In order to use this feature, start by arranging the pattern piece around the avatar in the order they would be sewn. Next, select the auto sewing tool and select the pant option. Sewing will automatically be applied to the pattern piece, and all you have to do is simulate. Let's now go into some of our 3D updates. We have now created a 3D base pen tool. With a 3D base pen, you can draw directly on top of your 3D garment. The baseline will also be reflected in the 3D window, and you can interact with that baseline if you trace it with the trace tool. You can also use this as just a reference line. Another update is with our fold arrangement tool. It is possible to fold or unfold patterns at the same time in your 3D window by the fold arrangement tool if your patterns have symmetry. You can activate the gizmo on the internal line or seam line in the 3D window as always, and move the arrow to fold or unfold the pattern. Both sides will now move. And now the final topic we will be going over is our file improvements. In CLO 6.1, you can now save 3D state as a ZPRJ file. If you go to your history over to the left, and at the top of the window you will see a 3D state button. Here you can click to save your project at any current time. You can continue to work on the project and then save out another 3D state when desired. All of your 3D states will be saved in your History tab. These function as full projects and can be added back to the current workspace or opened as a new project. These projects are all saved in the folder with all the other assets of the project. The 3D state stays in the history and can be accessed there. Once you open a 3D state, note the location in File, Recent. It is now possible to export with a GLTF file and save the colorway and animation information. Here I have my file, File, Export, and in the pop-up menu, I will select Save Colorway, and I will include the garment animation. Another new feature in 6.1 is the ability to bring clothes' physical properties into a Substance fabric file. This will then make a SBSAR file with clothes' physical properties within the fabric. This is only for clothes use. Another update we have made with Substance is users can now apply Substance materials to the fabric and preview the result in the render window. You can also adjust your Substance fabric by changing your displacement map values to make the material appear more accurate to your design or product. Moreover, we can apply Substance materials to avatars, like this dog. When we refresh the render window, you will see the change. Substance materials can also be applied to buttons for showing various material outcomes. We have also made some updates to our DXF files. When importing a DXF file, there is now an option to have your seam allowance recognized by the CLO Seam Allowance tool. The original seam allowance will remain as a baseline in the background. Also, in CLO 6.1, your rule file does not have to be the same as your DXF file. You can bring in your rule file independently from your DXF file. As you can see here, I will bring in a rule file that is a different name from my DXF file. We have also made some improvements to our 3D snapshots. You are now able to change your resolution for pixels. If you go to File, 3D Snapshot, and if you are in your pixel unit, you will now see that you can adjust your resolution. You can also now display a 3D grid in your 3D window and the 3D snapshot. If you go into your display settings, you will then see the option of show or hide a 3D grid. You can now also set the rotation axis for a turntable. Here, if I go to File, Turntable, Video Capture, in my default option, it is automatic. If I select the custom option, I can enter a specific value for the X and Z axis. Another improvement is, if you hide one avatar and garment and set the rotation to auto, it will only take into account the visible elements in the workspace. We hope you enjoyed this webinar and learned a lot of great things. Thank you so much for watching.